Oh, so this is date number 2. Oh, perfect. Okay.
That would be really fast. No, I'm sure they have the technical capability, but
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I bet.
Aside from the fact that what's his face?
Morphine. Oh my god. This has been the storyline that I've been kind of just watching. This is like the second one I've got from more people that are allegedly doing this. It's just gross.
Like interviewing.
No matter what, it's just disgusting. They just took the pool hall and cleared it. It's an old silver diner. So it's the building looks like a silver diner. They just kept it the same, and I'm like, honestly, that probably works. Yeah. I think the old image of it's gonna pop up on there. It's gonna, that's how old it is. It's this thing. Silver. It was just under construction, but that's it. It was an old silver diner. Love it. Alright, but it's not like really, it's okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. No, there's no one here. This is just a, I don't know what's wrong with this. Here one day.
When I was in Michigan, we went to like hosting one of our events at like 2 dive bars.
So?
They had a big pool setting.
When is it? Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought there was like a picture of the cardigan. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's so unbothered.
And I never responded. She bought me $100, and I also didn't say that.
Wait. Oh, you just did? Oh.
I just have to called it a day. She owed me way more than
In emotional ways?
Wait, who? Oh. And I said nothing, and I got that was nice. It's almost as bad as my $5 plunger.
What if us on the other?
No. A friend of my friend's girlfriend Venmoed me $5 for self-care. As I was like hiding under
One coffee. Oh, that is somewhat crucial content. It's not a ton of money to send them. But in isolated, it's like, yeah, that's what. Well, maybe not money.
went off, and that's what.
Right, that's how we find it. No.
For him.
Because of type of cat.
Last question. Right.
My God, was it also on the wall? No. Okay. Oh, that's better. I see. You're probably fine.
Are you doing it? It's fine. Never been there before. It's a strange place, but you know, it's nice. East Hampton.
Yeah, that's like kind of just
So I've heard. It's just so funny, like, What did you guys do?
I always drive.
Because where was
The times I've been
Alex's
there.
house is late family or something, right? Or
Yeah. Well, no. It's wait, who's
who's the club where you guys went?
this past couple weeks?
Yeah, I know
It
that
was
was
his best friend.
for the mom. That's where your dad was.
They're selling the house.
Well, hey, there you go.
No, I mean I can't afford that house. It was Alex's best friend from undergrad. He also went to undergrad with his wife as well. I was good friends with her too, so that's why. Yeah, he goes out like every year.
Nice. That's beautiful.
And then obviously.
Select Subcommittee, yes.
Yeah. I toured a couple times with him.
It's a long drive.
Yeah, it was like 5.5 hours.
I mean, I guess door to door, that was about what it took me to between flying and then
At least
train.
you don't have to like pay attention. You
Yeah,
just
exactly.
relax.
Right. I slept.
Yeah, right. Alex just so deal with it.
What do you do this weekend? Okay. I feel like that was something I should watch.
I know, I've never seen it, so I agree. Yeah, that was on my to-do list. So I started with that. And then I didn't do much.
I was watching The Studio on the train. Have you seen that? That's the Apple TV one that's like about a fictional movie studio, I guess.
Oh, no, should I?
Seven. Not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Seth Rogen one. Yeah, it's very good. Seth Rogen and what's his face?
Even a more. Oh, Dave Franco?
Yes,
Yes,
Dave
I've
Franco.
been meaning to look it out.
Dave Franco plays the other person. I mean, right, and Bryan Cranston plays the like president of the studio.
Zoe Kravitz in it.
Sorry?
Isn't Zoe Kravitz in it? Yes.
She is. Yeah, I forget what her role is. What was that? Oh yeah, but it's a fictional Toledo Blade-ish, right? Yeah, I think so, right? It's a newspaper in Toledo. Is it? I have a Peacock. Yeah, Toledo. Have you watched it? Daniel, have you watched that paper?
No. That's also been on my to-do list. I think it's gotten good reviews, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, which is surprising. I kind of assumed it would be bad. I mean, I think Domhnall Gleeson's good. I haven't seen him anything besides Star Wars. Oh, the Nepo baby. I didn't realize that. Oh, Gleeson. It's Brendan Gleeson's son.
Oh, yeah. That I did know.
Oh, yeah, in Bruges.
Yeah.
And she's getting Sharon. Oscar for her.
What are you saying? Oh, yeah.
What do you think is his purpose?
Totally possible. Like completely, not just like buzzwords, like everything else. Good and bad. Things like that. I feel like a little sassy.
Heads up.
Good afternoon, everyone. On January 6, 2021, a violent mob incited by Donald Trump viciously attacked the Capitol as part of an effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and halt the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in American history. The mob brutally attacked and beat police officers, seriously injuring more than 140 brave men and women of law enforcement. It was an unprecedented assault on the American way of life, on the rule of law, and on the very fabric of our democracy. Donald Trump and House Republicans are now determined to whitewash that day that will always live in infamy. House Democrats will not let it happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Donald Trump and House Republicans spent all of last year promising to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. In fact, Donald Trump promised that he would lower costs on day one. That hasn't happened. Why didn't it happen? Because on day one, Donald Trump was too busy pardoning hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers on January 6th. It's shameful. It was shameful then, and it will always be shameful. And under the leadership of Democrats on this so-called January 6th subcommittee, we will make sure that the American people continue to receive the unfiltered truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It's now my honor to yield to the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, an ex officio member of this subcommittee, and one of the country's leading champions for democracy, the Constitution, and the rule of law, the Honorable Jamie Raskin.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. And Leader Jeffries was a hero on January 6th when he insisted that we go back to the floor and complete the counting of Electoral College votes. And he's a hero again now as he opposes this absurd and ridiculous effort by the Republicans, again, to spread lies when the truth is completely known. It would be a lot better if they were proposing that we get together on a bipartisan basis to actually make some progress for America. For example, we could start by trying to restore 17 million people to Medicaid coverage who are about to be cut off because of their actions. But the president and the MAGA followers cannot stop returning to the scene of their crime. You know, they already attempted a rewrite in the House Administration Committee in the last Congress when Mr. Loudermilk led an attempted Orwellian rewrite of what took place on January 6th, 2021. The fact of the matter is they have not laid a glove on a single fact that was presented in the report of the bipartisan Select Committee on January 6th. All of their bizarre counter theories about Antifa and about the FBI have been completely and thoroughly debunked. They have gotten nowhere, and yet they insist once again on returning to the scene of the crime. That gives us the chance to educate new generations of Americans about the dangers of political authoritarianism and about the dangers of political and religious cults. We are also going to demand that this forum finally become a time of national reckoning with the fact that 140 of our police officers were wounded, injured, hospitalized, disfigured, and disabled by the savagery of Donald Trump's mob. Speaker Johnson and Donald Trump have done absolutely nothing for our police officers. They won't even put up the federally mandated plaque in Congress to honor the service of our officers and their sacrifice. Yet, Donald Trump pardoned nearly 1,600 insurrectionists and violent cop beaters, many of whom have already reoffended. And he calls them heroes. And he called them hostages, which is obscene. A hostage is someone who has been abducted and held for ransom by a terrorist or criminal group. That's what they think of the American judicial process. So, while he's pardoned all of these insurrectionists, while he has fired dozens of experienced federal prosecutors simply for doing their jobs and working on the January 6th case, he has done nothing for the police heroes who defended our Congress, who defended our vice president, who was threatened by Donald Trump's mob, and who defended our Constitution against Trump's insurrection. They've done nothing for the officers. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about specific officers. For example, Sergeant Aquilino Gunnell. Sergeant Gunnell was on the Capitol Police Department force for 17 years, a veteran of the Iraq War who said he never saw any kind of violence and savagery as bloody as what he saw on January the 6th. He endured injuries so severe he was forced to retire from the police department. He could no longer meet the medical and physical requirements for service on the Capitol Police Department. And while he was about to be promoted to lieutenant from sergeant, he was forced to retire from the police and is now living on a substantially reduced income for him and his family. He's just one example of many officers, of the hundreds who were forced to leave either the Capitol Police or the MPD because of injuries, physical or psychological, that they suffered on that day. So we'll also get the chance with the new Select Subcommittee to examine the constantly growing criminal records of all of the violent felons and cop beaters and white nationalists who Donald Trump pardoned and released onto our streets on day one. And they've been picked up on all kinds of crimes. One from Virginia was engaged in burglarizing homes in the neighborhood where he lived. But on that list are child sex abusers. There are people who've been involved in other kinds of violent crimes and robbery. And so we're going to trace all of the people who Donald Trump decided to pardon and release back into the streets. Again, we would much prefer to be working on something positive, forward-looking, but they want to look back. And so we say, fine, this will be a chance to educate America about what exactly they did to us in their effort to overthrow a presidential election, which Donald Trump lost by 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. All of his claims of fraud were debunked and repudiated by more than 60 federal and state court judgments, including from 7 or 8 judges that he himself named to the bench. I turn it back over to you, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Jamie. Throughout his time in Congress, Eric Swalwell, who's both a friend and a classmate, has been a champion for the rule of law, a champion of accountability, a champion of free and fair elections, and a champion of the American way of life. Eric Swalwell is the son of a police officer, comes from a law enforcement family, has a distinguished track record as a prosecutor. Eric Swalwell knows what it means to actually advocate for law and order. And Eric Swalwell knows what lawlessness and disorder looks like. And he's never hesitated in calling out the lawlessness and disorder of the Trump administration, of Donald Trump, of extreme MAGA Republican sycophants, and on that violent mob that we saw that fateful day on January 6th, it's my honor to designate Congressman Eric Swalwell as the ranking member, the lead Democrat on this subcommittee, and the House Democratic Caucus will be in good hands with Congressman Swalwell, with Representative Jasmine Crockett, and Representative Jared Moskowitz, all with the steady hand of Ranking Member Jamie Raskin. I yield now to my good friend, the Congressman from the great state of California, Eric Swalwell.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries and Ranking Member Raskin, for your confidence in me and the team, and also for making sure that we never forget the heroism of the officers on January 6th and what they represented as we were seeking to count the electoral votes that day. Since the Civil War, what are the three most important dates in American history? December 7, 1941, September 11, and January 6. The last two, I didn't even have to give you the years because they are seared into our memories. And because we saw them with our own eyes. But now, Donald Trump has pardoned all the insurrectionists, telling the country whatever crime they commit, even if you kill somebody and it's in his name, you walk. Donald Trump has made villains of the cops who tried to stop them, even those cops who died. He's gone after those who have investigated him or helped impeach him over January 6th, and he's even forced the Smithsonian to whitewash and take his name off the January 6th impeachment exhibit. You know, my father was a cop. I have two brothers who are cops, and I was a prosecutor. But you do not need a family legacy of law enforcement to know that January 6th was the worst of wrongs. That in this country, we don't choose criminals over cops. Donald Trump is trying to do with January 6th what many fringe groups have done with September 11, telling us it wasn't planes that flew into the buildings, but holograms or missiles, or that it was an inside job. And here's why we didn't buy the 9/11 crazy talk then or the January 6th lies now. Because we saw them with our own eyes. No matter your political party, our job now is to make sure that we, the people, always keep those eyes open, that we not accept falsehoods, even from our friends, and that we always choose the truth over Trump. Happy to yield now to one of the members of our team, gentlelady from Texas, Jasmine Crockett.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the leader as well as both ranking members. And of course, it is always a good time when I can be with my good old classmate, Jared Moskowitz. You know, it is so interesting that we stand here and we're talking about relitigating what has been litigated not once, but twice. And now they have decided that they want to go a third round. You see, if we recall, there was a January 6th committee that had come together. And because of the work that was done on that select committee, we ended up with a number of indictments. And when I say a number, I'm not talking about 5 or 6. I'm talking about well over 1,000 people that were indicted. And then after being indicted, meaning that a grand jury was able to hear the evidence and decide that there was enough for the Department of Justice to go forward. We had a number of cases that were tried. We had a number of defendants that actually entered pleas of guilty. So explain to me why it is that now that we have Trump back in office, they decide that they want to litigate this over again. Here's the reality. I can tell you that the results will still be the same. On that day, there was an attempt to tear apart our democracy brick by brick. In fact, they laid the foundation, unfortunately, for what we are experiencing right now. Because if those in power had done what they should have done, which was to go through with an impeachment conviction, none of us would be enduring what we are enduring now. But again, why now do we want to do this? I personally believe that this is about distractions, and division. You see, the president doesn't want you to focus on things such as his involvement with the Epstein files. You see, the president doesn't want you to focus on things that he promised on the campaign trail, such as to lower costs for the American people. The president doesn't want you to focus on his failed secretary of HHS and the fact that we know almost 100 children thus far have died from something like measles. He doesn't want you to focus on the things that truly matter to the American people that are trying to survive now. Instead, again, he wants to divide and distract. So let me be clear. We are not going to allow them to whitewash this. In fact, the leader was very thoughtful when he decided to put together this team. All of us know a little something about the law because we've all practiced law. And we are going to make sure that the American people get the truth, no matter how many lies they put out there. On January 6th, Donald Trump not only incited the attack, he doubled down by pardoning those violent insurrectionists. And when did he do that? On his very first day in office. It sends a dangerous message that violence against our democracy is rewarded, not punished. No one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. On this subcommittee, we will follow the facts. We will expose the lies, and we will continue to hold accountable those that tried to overthrow the will of the people, including the president. This is not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about defending the Constitution we all swore an oath to uphold. The American people deserve honesty, accountability, and leaders who will protect democracy, not tear it down. I am committed to making sure that the American people know the truth about January 6th and remember all those responsible for the defilement of the Capitol. And with that, I will turn it over to Jared Moskowitz.
Thank you, Jasmine. First of all, Leader Jeffries, thank you for the honor to serve with my colleagues under Ranking Member Eric Swalwell and continuing to serve with Ranking Member Jamie Raskin. You know, for the group that has brought back the measles and is working really hard to bring back polio, it would only make sense that now they want to bring back the January 6th committee. But I give them credit for their consistency. They're talking a lot about DC crime, and so I applaud them that they're going to remind the American people with overwhelming video and imagery and pictures and testimony of the largest crime perpetrated on the Capitol since the British. And we will go through this again. We will remind people of the police brutality. We will remind people of the burglary and the vandalism of the Capitol. We will go through each and every single crime that was committed on that day since the Republicans are talking about crime. And so, you know, listen, this is going to be an absolute waste of taxpayer money and taxpayer time. And so, look, Speaker I'm getting ahead of myself, Speaker Jeffries, look at that. Speaker Johnson, if you're watching in the spirit of bipartisanship, I think you really should consider putting James Comer in charge of this committee so that he can continue with his service of committees that have wasted countless dollars and time of the American people. And look, we would much rather be doing other stuff. We'd much rather be talking about how we're going to get people health care. We would much rather talk about how we're going to work together to make things more affordable. We would much rather do that. That's what the American people want us to do. But that's not what is going on in this Congress, right? Again, we're in the least productive Congress, only beating the last Congress, which was the least productive Congress. And so, look, as someone who celebrates Hanukkah, Christmas is coming early. We will deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Jared. Questions?
Leader Jeffries, I was here that day, and it was unforgettable. And we know that 800 Metropolitan police officers responded to the scene and helped save our lives. Are they also honored on that plaque?
Yes, the plaque honors the law enforcement personnel who were there saving lives at the Capitol at great sacrifice to themselves. And of course, that effort was led by the Capitol Police Department and the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as law enforcement officers from other federal agencies, all of whom we will continue to lift up. Thanks.
And 50 officers from Montgomery County, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And as the distinguished gentleman from the great state of Maryland said, 50 officers from Montgomery County, Maryland, the county that is so ably represented by Jamie Raskin. All of them heroes, all of them who responded to what was one of the saddest, most violent days in American history.
You picked your team, but Speaker Johnson does have the ultimate veto power if he chooses to use it. Have you talked to him about whether or not he's going to approve this?
We let him know our choices for this subcommittee, and there's zero precedent for anyone from the other party determining who is going to sit on a subcommittee if, in fact, they want to take that subcommittee seriously. Thank you.
Question on the other major pressing piece of business, the government shutdown. What is the Democrats ask in that? There's been some talk about the Obamacare expiring expanded premiums. Is that part of the conversation? What are you guys talking about attaching to the seat?
We're going to focus on topic questions, but I will briefly just answer that, and we'll have more to say throughout the balance of the week. Democrats are prepared to work together to enact a bipartisan spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people, improves their quality of life, and addresses health care, public safety, and their economic well-being. We will not support a partisan spending bill that continues to rip away health care from the American people, period, full stop. Anything else?
Thank you, Leader. Congressman Swalwell just compared Pearl Harbor to January 6th. Do you agree?
I think what Congressman Swalwell said is that there are certain days that will forever live in infamy in terms of the shock to the conscience of the American people. And obviously, the attack on Pearl Harbor is a day that will forever live in infamy for all time. And we're thankful to the greatest generation that stepped up to win that war against the evils of fascism and Nazi Germany. September 11th is also a day that obviously is one that everyone remembers because we witnessed it. And I think Congressman Swalwell was very clear, so let's not try to misinterpret anything that he said, that what happened on January 6th unfolded in front of everyone. We all saw it with our own eyes, and many of us lived through it. And it cannot be whitewashed by Donald Trump, extreme MAGA Republicans, and their propaganda efforts.
Leader Jeffries, Democrats right now are being pounded by Republicans about cities within your states, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, about situations that are happening right now, whereas you're talking about a situation that happened 4 years ago where an unarmed protester was shot and killed by a Capitol police officer with his own record.
What outlet are you from?
The Washington Times. So I'm curious here, hold on a second, why is it that Democrats don't want to hold that particular Capitol Hill police officer with any sort of accountability, yet as far as the cities in which the states that you're from, you don't want to deal with the crime that's actually going on in your own states? And Mr. Raskin, you're
Is there a
laughing.
question there?
No, I'm laughing
Mr.
at you.
Raskin, you're laughing, but a woman was just killed in your state, and you don't want to address that either.
Yeah, I'm not going to address the ad hominem foolishness that was just articulated. But what I will say very clearly is that we have, as Democrats, been very clear that we're going to support local law enforcement, which includes law enforcement on January 6th, the NYPD, the Chicago Police Department, the Metropolitan Police Department, and do what is necessary to help them do their jobs, as opposed to doing what Republicans have done, which is to defund the police and rip away grant funding for local law enforcement. That's the here and now. And Republicans don't want to talk about that. We're not the ones that brought back the January 6th issue. Republicans, to their own peril, have brought back the January 6th issue, and it's not going to work out well for them, which is why that question has nothing to do with the issue of what Republicans have now brought us here to talk about.
And could I
Jamie?
add one
Yeah.
thing? That question is typical of the anti-police officer propaganda that fuels this whole revisionist attack on the January 6th report. Again, that report has not been contradicted in any way by anyone. And if someone believes it has been, please volunteer it. But what the questioner doesn't seem to understand is the Capitol Police did an investigation and found there was obviously no crime committed by that officer, and that officer did his job in protecting members of the United States Congress, protecting the Vice President of the United States against a rampaging mob, which was yelling, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence." The Department of Justice is perfectly aware of the fraudulent allegations that the gentle lady just made, and the Department of Justice has never brought any charges against that police officer. So stop defaming that police officer who did nothing but his job in defense of the Capitol of the United States.
Go ahead, Jen.
The only other thing that I just wanted to add is that I am tired of us continuing to push a lack of civics in this country. When we were elected to serve in the U.S. House, our main job isn't to do local policing. We have local police, and that is their responsibility. We also have local prosecutors, and that is their responsibility. But when there is an attack on the Capitol, that is a federal issue. And so we need to stop conflating what federal law enforcement should be doing, what local law enforcement should be doing, and who should be doing what. And I also want to point out that it is so rich that the Republicans believe in small government, and this is the biggest government that I've ever seen, because they have decided that now they are going to somehow be the local police that is going to solve local crime as the federal level. That is not what we're supposed to do, especially on our level. What we do is we write federal laws. That is our job, and that is the lane that we're going to stay in. And the only reason we're talking about January 6th is because the Republicans are the ones bringing this, not us.
Next question.
Leader Jeffries, could we please get your reaction to the birthday note that Oversight Committee released today, and what are the next steps in the Epstein inquiry as far as Democrats are concerned?
Yeah, well, I'll have more to say about the birthday note, but right now I'm going to let Robert Garcia and the Oversight Committee Dems speak to that issue.
If Speaker Johnson does not approve your picks for the Select Committee, will Democrats still participate in this?
We're not going to deal in the realm of hypotheticals, but what's interesting is that Republicans have brought this situation on themselves. They blindsided us by dropping this January 6th subcommittee into a rule in the dead of night so that it wouldn't have to be comprehensively debated on the floor of the House of Representatives. And so they have decided they want this January 6th subcommittee. It's going to be housed before the Judiciary Committee. Jamie Raskin, as the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, will be an ex officio member, according to the protocol that has been previously set forth by Democrats and Republicans. Eric Swalwell is the top Democrat on that committee, a member of the Judiciary Committee. Jasmine Crockett, a member of the Judiciary Committee. And Jared Moskowitz, a member of the Judiciary Committee. And Republicans will regret that they've decided to go down this road. Thank you very much.